Good day, everyone. My respect to our ever gorgeous, efficient, and very talented professor, Ma'am Nerissa Malco Beatriz. I am Miss Elizabeth Rabeje, a teacher one of Upper Anayan Elementary School, Minalabak District, a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Biological Science. I am currently the advisor of grade 5 pupils and at the same time the school disbursing designate of our school. So today I will discuss chapter 30, Psychology of Thinking, Reasoning and Problem Solving. So first, let's discuss about thinking. What is thinking? So it refers to the mental manipulation and combination of images that uses symbols as inner representation of objects and events. In cognitive psychology, thinking is described as the mind processing the information it perceives, organizes, remembers, and uses. So this is an American psychologist, Clifford Morgan. He states that thinking consists of symbolic mediation. Mediation means the thinking fills in the gap between stimulus situation and the response of the person to it, while symbolic means the thinking is done with processes within us that are symbols representations of our previous experience with the world. So what is the nature of thinking? So it's cognitive activity. It's directed to achieve some end or purpose. It's described as problem solving behavior. There is a mental exploration instead of motor exploration. It's symbol activity. It can be shifted very rapidly. Thinking is the base of all cognitive activities or processes and is unique to human beings. It involves manipulation and analysis of information received from the environment. So, for example, what do we see in the picture? So, while seeing a painting or these two painting, you are not simply focusing on the color of the painting or the lines and strokes. Rather, you are going beyond the given text and interpreting its meaning, and you are trying to relate the information to your existing knowledge. Understanding of the painting involves creation of new meaning that is added to your knowledge. Thinking, therefore, is a higher mental process through which we manipulate and analyze the acquired or existing information. Such manipulation and analysis occur by means of abstracting, reasoning, imagining, problem solving, judging, and decision making. Thinking is mostly organized and goal directed. All day to day activities, ranging from cooking to solving a math problem, have a goal. One desires to reach the goal by planning, recalling the steps that one has already followed in the past if the task is familiar, or inferring strategies if the task is new. Thinking is an internal mental process which can be inferred from overt behavior. So if you see a chess player engrossed in thinking for several minutes before making a move, you cannot observe what he is thinking. You can simply infer what he was thinking or what strategies he was trying to evaluate from his next move. So next are the types of thinking. So we have perceptual or concrete thinking, conceptual or abstract thinking, reflective thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, non-directive or associative thinking. So there are 6 type of thinking. Is the perceptual or concrete thinking. So this is the simplest form of thinking. The basis of this type is perception. Example, interpretation of sensation according to one's experience. So it is also called the concrete thinking as it is carried out on the perception of actual or concrete objects and events. So number 2 type of thinking is the conceptual or abstract thinking from the word concept. So this type of thinking makes use of concepts, the generalized objects, and languages. It is regarded as being superior to perceptual thinking as it economizes efforts and understanding and problem solving. So 3 type of thinking is the reflective thinking. So this type of thinking aims in solving complex problems. Thus, it requires reorganization of all the relevant experiences to a situation or removing obstacles instead of relating with that experiences or ideas. So in this type of thinking, the thinking processes take all the relevant facts, arranged in a logical order, into an account in order to arrive at a solution of the problem. So the creative thinking. So from the word create, this type of thinking is associated with one's ability to create or construct something new, novel, or unusual. So, for example, are the scientists, artists, or inventors. So we all know B.F. Skinner, um, the famous psychologist that says creative thinking means that the prediction and inferences for the individual are new, original, ingenious, and unusual. The creative thinker is one who expresses new ideas and makes new observations, new predictions, and new inferences. So, another type of thinking is critical thinking. So, it is a type of thinking that helps a person in stepping aside from his own personal beliefs, prejudices, and opinions to sort out the fates and discover the truth, even at the expense of his basic belief system. So, an ideal critical thinker is habitually inquisitive, well informed, open minded, flexible, fair minded in evaluation, free from personal bias and prejudices, honest in seeking relevant information, is skilled in the proper use of the abilities like interpretation, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and drawing conclusion and inferences. So another one, last type of critical thinking is the non-directive or associative thinking. So there are times when we find ourselves engaged in a unique type of thinking, which is the non-directed and without goal. So psychologically, these forms of thought are termed as associative thinking. So for example, is daydreaming or fantasy and delusions all fall in the category of withdrawal behavior that helps an individual to escape from the demands of the real world by making his thinking phase non-directed and floating, placing him somewhere, ordering something unconnected with his environment. So, non-directive, ano po? Hindi po siya direktahan. So, biglaan. Okay, so that's all about thinking. So, next is reasoning. So, what is reasoning? Reasoning is associated with the act of thinking and cognition and involves using one's intellect. So, minsan nga sinasabing pagrarason. Ano po? Reasoning. So, according to Garrett, reasoning is a step-wise thinking with a purpose or goal in mind. And then according to Gates, reasoning is the term applied to highly purposeful, controlled, selective thinking. According to Moon, reasoning is combining past experience in order to solve a problem which cannot be solved by mere reproduction of earlier solution. So there are types of reasoning. There are three types of reasoning. Number one, inductive reasoning. Number two, deductive reasoning. And number three, abductive reasoning. So let's start with the type of reasoning, the inductive reasoning. So induction refers specifically to inference of a generalized conclusion from particular instances. In other words, it means forming a generalization based on what is known or observed. So the prefix in means to or toward, and induction leads you to a generalization. So for example, Robert is a teacher. All teacher is nice. Then, therefore, Robert is nice. So that is inductive reasoning. From generalized conclusion to a particular instances. Another type of reasoning is the deductive reasoning. So deduction is generally defined as the deriving of a conclusion by reasoning. Its specific meaning in logic is inference, in which the conclusion about particulars follows necessarily from general or universal premises. So, the prefix "d" means from, and the deduction derives from generally accepted statements or facts. So, for example, to earn a master's degree, a student must have 32 credits. Currency has 40 credits. So, currency will earn a master's degree. So, from um, the deriving of a conclusion by reasoning. From general premises. Ano po? So, another one, the last type of is the abductive reasoning. So from the word abduction, ano po, or abductive. So abductive reasoning is defined as a syllogism in which the major premise is evident, but the minor premise and therefore the conclusion only probable. So the prefix ab means away, and you take away the best explanation in abduction. So basically, it involves forming a conclusion from the information that is known. So a familiar example rather is a detective's identification of a criminal by piecing together evidence at a crime scene. So let's move forward to problem solving or problem solving. So when we encounter the word problem solving, number one word that will come to our mind is solution. Ano po? So what is problem solving? So problem solving is a skill that helps you determine the source of a problem and find an effective solution. So how do we do, or what are the steps in problem solving? One way to look at problem solving is using the ideal method. So I stands for identify, identifying the problem. What is it, or what is the problem? Why is it a problem and not something less? So yun yung mga posibleng tanong sa pag-identify ng problem. And then next, letter D stands for define. Defining the context of the problem. How is this problem impacting other people or other parts of the business? What are the consequences if we don't solve it? So next one is letter E, explore. Exploring possible strategies. This is brainstorming solutions in a non-judgmental way, and then, and only then, cutting down the list to a few possibilities. Next is letter A, action, or acting on the best solution. So after we choose or pick the best solution, we will implement it. And lastly, letter L, learn. Look back and learn. This is the post-delivery phase where you critically examine how things went and what could be improved for the next time. So this ideal method is like a cycle. So identify the problem, define, explore, action, and look back and learn. So ulit-ulit lang po yan. It is like a cycle. So problem solving relies on analytical ability, lateral or creative thinking, logical reasoning or critical thinking, initiative and persistence. So our brains are required to switch from critical to creative thinking at different stages of problem solving. So that would be all about my topic, thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. So before I end my report, let me leave with you this quote. A positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. So let us all be a positive thinker. So thank you and God bless us all.